Okay, I think I'm live now. This is the last podcast. We're done with this. We can get rid of it. And move this one in to its place.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the State of the Ark podcast.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the State of the Ark pod.
Perfect.
Podcast. My name is Mike.
My name's Kason.
This is episode 2 of our Final Fantasy Tactics analysis. Today we're jumping straight into the story. If you missed the last episode, we do all the background on.
Okay. Boom, boom. Please give me a keyframe here. Hello? Keyframe, thank you. There and there. 107. So it sort of zooms in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the State of the Ark podcast. My name is Mike.
My name's Kason.
This is episode 2 of our Final Fantasy Tactics analysis. Today we're jumping straight into the story. If you missed the last episode, we do all the background on the dev history.
Okay. Now we need to do a keyframe on the opacity. From 10%.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the.
And a Gaussian blur. Of 35 peak pixel edges, and intro should be good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the State of the Ark podcast. My name is Mike.
My name's Kason.
This is episode 2 of our Final Fantasy Tactics analysis. Today we're jumping straight into the story. If you missed the last episode, we do
Okay. Here we go.
all the background on the dev history and all the background on the world of Ivalice and the Kingdom of Ivalice and what's going on with the 50 Years' War and everything. But now we're going to get started into the game proper. You boot it up. You get to the start screen.
All right, I should have title screen stuff.
And there are, on the PlayStation version, there are 2 cutscenes that you can watch if you just don't touch anything on.
That don't tell you much.
Well, one of them is
It's like
okay.
it's poetic.
Okay, sorry, there's 3. So you might have, there's the one that just like plays automatically as
I
the
see
game
what
boots
you
up.
mean. I see what you
If you wait on the start
Yeah.
screen and don't start a new game, there's another one that plays. As
I
the
see
game
what
boots
you
up.
mean. I see what you
If you wait on the start
Yeah.
screen and don't start a new game, there's another one that plays that's different that gives you background on the Lion War.
Oh,
and then
cool.
if you wait a little longer, there's a trailer. like a trailer style demo that plays, that's done in the form of like a movie trailer or something like that. And it's really interesting. I kind of want to talk about these things.
Why would you do that in your game?
I don't know. but I kind of want to talk about these things.
Why would you do?
It's
Drop shadow. No, that's weird. The crop is way too much on these ones. It's really weird the way that cutscenes have to be like cropped sometimes differently than the game itself. Yeah, it's way too much. Oh no, no it isn't. It's about the same. I think this crop is what we need on this one too. There we go.
you get to the start screen.
This one should be 2.
You boot it up. You get to the start screen. And there are, on the PlayStation version, there are 2 cutscenes that you can watch if you just don't touch anything on.
That don't tell you much.
Well, one of them is
Like
okay.
it's poetic.
It's well, okay. Sorry, there's 3. So you might have. There's the one that just like plays automatically as
I
the
see
game
what
boots
you
up.
mean. I see what you
If you wait on the start
Yeah.
screen and don't start a new game, there's another one that plays that's different that gives you background on the Lion War.
Oh,
and then
cool.
if you wait a little longer, there's a trailer, like a trailer style demo that plays that's done in the form of like a movie trailer or something like that. And it's really interesting. I kind of want to talk about these things.
Why would you do?
Okay, this one should be 3. There we go.
Do that in your game?
I don't know. but
Do you want people to know this info?
exactly, right?
Yeah.
Vagrant Story does the same thing.
Oh,
There are
actually, it
2
does. And for some reason,
cutscenes,
I did that. I maybe I just knew about it ahead of time.
2 really important cutscenes. That don't play in the story of the game if you press start, but that play on this demo screen if you just wait long enough, right? Anyways,
Great.
Matsuno likes to do that, I guess. I have to comment on how much I love the music in this game. It's freaking
It's
outstanding.
really good.
I feel so pumped
Yeah.
when it's like describing the story, and the music that accompanies it is almost always just absolutely perfect in my
Yeah.
opinion. It's crazy how good it is.
You know, I love Final Fantasy 12 so much. And one of the things with 12 that didn't stand out to me as much was the music for
Yeah.
12
A
specifically.
lot of people feel the same way.
But playing this game and hearing some of those.
Kaysen is claiming he hears a motif in Final Fantasy Tactics that is also in Final Fantasy XII. I'm not sure that's true. Is there a Final Fantasy XII piece of music that has a leitmotif from Final Fantasy Tactics? Because I don't know of it, if that's the case. He seems to think that when he's talking about it, but I don't think that's actually true. This is 13. Like, this is actually not the full OST. Like, which song is he thinking? Does this in FF12 soundtrack? Because, like, the main theme, or the theme that's kind of used in several leitmotifs throughout Final Fantasy Tactics, is that little da dun da 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 dun dun da da dun da dun 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 dun. But then there's also how does it go? It's like on the tip of my tongue. It's hold on, I'll play it right now. It is fetch you. It is what? It's like the sad song when his father's dying, and they use that in one of the battle ones too, and they use it in the demo movie one. This, or actually not this. 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 Dun, 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 dun. Well, I guess that was the first one, but hold on. Sorry, is it in this one? This. Ba 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 da da ba da da ba. Ba ba bum bum bum. Like, there's a motif, and it plays a little bit here too in a second. This, anyways, it plays variations of that motif in a bunch of different songs. Which one is it? I'm just gonna start playing through all of them. This. Bum 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 ba da bum 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 ba da bum 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 bum. That motif is like what I would call the Final Fantasy Tactics sort of main theme, right? Dun 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 dun. I don't remember there being anything in FF12 with that motif, so I'm not sure which part he's talking about. I actually don't think that's true, so I'm probably just going to cut it out.
Playing this game and with 12 that didn't stand out to me as much was the music for 12 specifically.
A lot of people feel the same way.
But
let's see.
You know, I love Final Fantasy 12 so much. And one of the things with 12 that didn't stand out to me as much was the music for 12 specifically.
A lot of people feel.
I don't think I can cut that in a way that we can keep that part at least.
It's almost always just absolutely perfect in my opinion. It's crazy how good it is.
You know, I love
absolutely perfect in my opinion. It's crazy.
Let's try and cut it right there. Let's go past this part.
I love it. It's throwing me back into Ivalice mode of Final Fantasy 12, and it's really cool. I'm really liking it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna actually just cut to there. So I'll cut out the part.
Yeah.
It's crazy how good it is.
Yeah. You know, I love Final Fantasy 12 so much. And one of the things with 12 that didn't stand out to me as much was the music for
Yeah.
12 specifically.
A lot of people feel the same way.
But
Cut right there. Bring this over, and then switch to the cam 1.
one of the things with 12 that didn't stand out to me as much was the music for 12 specifically.
A lot of people feel the same way.
But I love it. It's throwing me back into Ivalice mode of Final Fantasy 12, and it's really cool. I'm really liking it. The music is just wonderful.
It's fantastic. So the one that you're talking about, the one that sounds poetic and doesn't really mean much.
Yes.
That
a
one-
hero shall take the sword.
Yeah. A warrior takes sword in hand,
Yes.
clasping gem to his heart.
Yes.
Clasping gem to his heart, engraving vanishing memories into the sword. He places finely honed skills into the stone. Spoken from a lot of this is kind of what we've talked about in the past with Japanese games. Where it's
I was
like
going to say, this
they
sounded better in the
feel-
original Japanese, probably.
Oh, what? Oh, I was wondering if you
didn't
actually
check,
looked into that.
But just this, it's like a haiku poem where it's like.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, yeah.
And at first I was thinking, I don't know if these words really mean anything other than they just sound cool, which is kind of a trope of JRPGs and this sort of thing. However, the last part does, to me, kind of speak about the fact that this is a forgotten history that's now just emerging, right? With the Durai
yes.
papers.
Yes.
So it says, spoken from the sword, handed down from the stone, now the story can be told. So it's like this tablet, or I guess it's actually papers in the story. But anyways, there's a whole report written by a character named Oren Durai, who we'll meet later,
Yeah.
that is just now being revealed, that was hidden by the church.
Yeah, by
that gives
some
the
historian.
yeah, that gives the true history of what happened in the War of the Lions in ancient times. So I really love the framing of this, where the narrator of the story is a guy way in the future of Ivalice, who is a historian and who is revealing now for the first time what really happened back then. There's something just about that framing device that is such a hook to me, because it makes me wonder how much of our own history is like that.
Well, as soon as I read it, I'm like, is this even true?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, this is the real truth of what happened. It's like, no, this is just another version.
Sure.
It's just another version that's probably as full of holes as the original.
Yeah, and it's just, it makes
that's
you
true.
realize how probably not solid our idea of history actually is.
Yeah.
Because the people who write history, it's their perspective of events, or what they want you to know about the events, or filled with probably exaggerations or lies even, to make themselves look better or whatever. And it's like using that as a framing device for telling the story, to me, was like an immediate hook. I really like that.
I like that too. You know, they say history is written by the victor, right?
Yeah.
But your mind immediately goes to war. The victors of war, whoever won the war writes the history.
Yes.
But it's like, no, the victor of small battles, the victor of social circumstance, the victor of all sorts of situations, and whoever has the most money, that would be a victor of sorts, right? History is written by those types of victors, not just the generals or whoever you may have thought of when you initially read that line.
Yes.
And it is very true.
Yes.
Very true.
We talked about this a little bit even in Xenogears, where
All right, I need to make sure that I'm taking my time codes on this.
Fantasy Tactics analysis. Today we're jumping straight into the story. If you missed the last episode, we do all the background on the dev history and all the background on the world of Ivalice and the Kingdom of Ivalice and what's going on with the 50 Years' War and everything. But now we're going to get started into the game proper. You boot it up.
Right there. 030. That's good.
Yes,
very true.
We talked about this a little bit even in Xenogears, where for the longest time, this is almost like an exact parallel. For the longest time, we didn't really know much about the Gnostics.
Yes.
Or what they thought, because the only thing we had were polemics written by the Christian
stuff written
orthodoxy.
About the Gnostics, not their own.
And they hated
writings.
the Gnostics. The Christian
stuff written
orthodoxy.
About the Gnostics, not their own.
And they hated
writings.
the Gnostics.
I know.
And they treated them like heretics.
Yes.
So their version of what the Gnostics believed was completely freaking wrong.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the Nag Hammadi library comes up.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, this was actually written by the Gnostics.
Yeah.
This is what they thought.
Exactly.
That's exactly the situation.
Yes.
This story was...
And that was partly what inspired this story,
the
right?
Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah, the Dead Sea Scrolls in, what was that, the 1940s or something?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I really like that framing device, and I think that that's what that last line of the little poem is referring to. Spoken from the sword, handed down from the stone. Now the story can be told. So I really like that last line. The more I think about that,
now
like the more powerful that line is.
How many stories?
Spoken from the sword.
Yeah.
Ramza doing the battling. Handed down from the stone. The Durai papers went into the stone and were hidden.
Right.
Now the story can be told.
That's cool.
It's now emerged from the stone again.
And the question, as you relate it to our current situation of the world, is how many stories are hidden in the stones that are waiting to be uncovered, you know?
Freaking awesome.
Very cool. Very
my
cool.
initial impression of that was like, this is just, and I was like, wait a second.
Me too, actually.
Wait a second.
Me too.
That's actually really, really cool.
Until you explained it to me just now, actually, I thought, I was like, this is basically nothing.
Okay, so the second scene that'll play, if you leave it on the start screen, the Kingdom of Ivalice forever. Start screen. The Kingdom of Ivalice, forever guarded by the twin-headed lions and by the sun that shines upon them. The Kingdom of Ivalice, forever guarded by the twin-headed lions and by the sun that shines upon them. A year after the defeat of the 50-year war, by the sun that shines upon them. A year after the defeat of the 50-year war, the king had died from a terminal illness.
I'm going to have to speed this up big time.
Start screen. The Kingdom of... Okay, so the second scene that'll play, if you leave it on the start screen. The Kingdom of Ivalice, forever guarded by the twin-headed lions and by the sun that shines upon them. A year after the defeat of the 50-year war, the king had died from a terminal illness earlier, and the prince whom succeeded him was only 2 years old.
Just gonna have to do it like this.
Whom succeeded him was only 2 years old. This meant his guardian would actually reign in his stead as king. The queen's elder brother as king.
Dang it. Come on.
Reign in his stead as king. The queen's elder brother, Larg, was designated as guardian, but fearing an guardian, but fearing an oppressive reign from the queen, the parliament ousted the potential prince. Parliament ousted the potential prince, appointing instead the king's cousin, Prince Goltana, as the guardian. Here's one thing I don't like about the PS1 translation. They're very inconsistent with titles. These are not princes, these are dukes. It's Duke
really? Oh, okay.
Goltana and Duke Larg.
Huh?
They are not princes. Prince Orinus is the prince. Anyways.
Oh, okay. Good to know, good to know.
They're not very good with being consistent with titles.
Okay.
Anyways.
Oh, okay. Good to know, good to know.
They're not very good with being consistent with titles.
Okay.
Like that. Get a lot more into why I don't like the PS1 translation. And I know a lot of hardcore fans of the PS1 version are going to have strong disagreements with me. I am going to die on this hill. I will fight you to the last. The War of the Lions script is way better.
Get ready, people.
I'm ready to fight you about this. Okay. Okay. I'm going to get a lot more into why I don't like the PS1 translation. And I know a lot of hardcore fans of the PS1 version are going to have strong disagreements with me.
What am I looking for? Looking for compression, hard limiter on that. There we go.
I am going to die on this hill. I will fight you to the last. The War of the Lions script is way better.
Get ready, people.
I'm ready to fight you about this. Okay. Prince Goltana and Prince Larg are both respected generals who proved themselves in the 50-Year War. Prince Goltana had the support of the powerful nobles, but disenfranchised nobles and knights clearly supported Prince Larg. Prince Goltana and Prince Larg are both respected generals who proved themselves in the 50-Year War. Prince Goltana had the support of the powerful nobles, but disenfranchised nobles and knights clearly supported Prince Larg. The black lion symbolizes Prince Goltana, and the white lion symbolizes Prince Larg. This is the beginning of what will later be known as the Lion War. I'm going to try to find I'm going to try to find, and if I can't find them, print out on my own the white and black lions and put them where we had the Renegade Paragon during
Oh, you up there?
Yeah, during the last podcast. I meant to do that, I just ran out of time. Anyways, so that's the one that plays after that. Gives you a little bit of background on what's going on in the political situation.
Yeah.
If you don't watch that, you can be very lost. So, but then if you let it go again through the first one, a warrior takes sword in hand and does that whole thing and goes back to the start screen, and then you leave it again. A warrior takes sword in hand and does that whole thing and goes back to the start screen, and then you leave it again, you get this cool little like movie trailer sort of thing that happens.
I can't believe that.
So it says Square presents, and you have these bagpipes playing.
Of course.
It's really cool, and you get this cool little like movie trailer sort of thing that happens.
I can't believe that.
So it says Square presents, and you have these bagpipes playing.
Of course.
It's really cool and
Chrono
epic
Trigger
music.
style.
And it's like
style.
And it's like another Final Fantasy. And then it starts having quotes from the game. So it opens up with Princess Ovelia's another Final Fantasy. And then it starts having quotes from the game. So it opens up with Princess Ovelia's quote, "Oh God, please save us, thy sinful children of Ivalice." And then the music's moving.
So it's her early on, I see.
Like the really like fast-paced battle music there.
Yeah.
And then it just comes up, the Lion War on the screen. And then you have another quote, "Is the truth only what we can see?" And it's going bump, 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 and it's like showing battles and stuff, and you're going bump, 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 and it's like showing battles and stuff, and you're seeing some of the coolest cutscenes in the game, like this is one we'll cover today, where Wygref faces off against Gustav, and Gustav lunges at him, and he sidesteps and stabs him in the heart.
Drops his sword.
And like all those kind of steps and stabs him in the heart.
Drops his sword.
And like all those kinds of scenes are playing out.
Very cool. Very cool.
And then probably the most quoted and everyone's favorite line of dialogue from the original PS1, which is Delita's "Blame yourself or God."
Yes, of course.
PS1, which is Delita's "Blame yourself or God."
Yes, of course.
And then it says, "Producer Hironobu Sakaguchi, Final Fantasy series. Remember how?" And then this quote from Delita: "Remember how Father taught us to play the reed flute? Where did we go astray?" This had a little bit, to me, the style of 90s movie trailers.
Of course.
Where they have the guy who says,
the narrator.
"Square presents another Final Fantasy."
Perfect.
And then it's like... another Final Fantasy.
Perfect.
And then it's
but
like...
they didn't, it wasn't voiced though, it was just
no,
text,
it's
right?
not.
Yeah,
But the way that those titles come up feels like that. Because it'll have Ovelia saying, "Oh God, please save us, thy sinful children." It'll be like, "The Lion War." It's like, "The truth is only what we can see. Blame yourself for God." Or from producer Hironobu Sakaguchi of the Final Fantasy series.
Nice.
It's like, "Remember how Father taught us to play the flute? Where did we go astray?" Anyways, it felt like that. It really had that like style to me. And the funniest thing about it is at the very end, it has that page or like screen that they do on movie trailers where they have all the credits listed.
Oh, yeah.
That page or like screen that they do on movie trailers where they have all the credits listed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then they even have the Motion Picture Association symbol.
Wait.
association symbol.
Wait.
Like they do on those pages, as if it was a trailer for a movie.
Dude. There. Gotta be kidding me.
Wait.
Like they do on those pages, as if it was a trailer for a movie.
They
literally made
it there. That's
made
so funny.
up
Oh my
or
gosh.
mocked up like a movie trailer.
Wow.
Credits screen with the Motion Picture Association logo on it, and it says a Yasumi Matsuno film
Wow. What?
on there.
Jeez.
Let's see. Next. There we go.
Symbol.
Wait.
Like they do on those pages, as if it was a trailer for a movie. Symbol.
Wait.
Like they do. Like they do on those pages, as if it was a trailer for a movie.
Wait.
Like they do on those pages, as if it was a trailer for a movie. They literally made
it there. That's so
made
funny. Oh
up
my
or
gosh.
mocked up like a movie trailer.
Wow.
Credits screen with the Motion Picture Association logo on it. And it says a Yasumi logo on it, and it says a Yasumi Matsuno film
Wow. What?
on there.
Jeez.
It's really funny.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then they even have the Motion Picture Association symbol.
Wait.
Like they do on those pages, as if it was a trailer for a movie. They literally made
it there. That's so
made
funny. Oh
up
my
or
gosh.
mocked up like a movie trailer.
Wow.
Credits screen with the Motion Picture Association logo on it, and it says a Yasumi Matsuno film
Wow. What?
on there.
Jeez.
It's really funny.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
So
that's
it's
funny,
like-
man. That's funny.
There were a lot of, and I say this in my Vagrant Story review, actually. His ambition was to be a movie director originally.
Oh, really?
He wanted to be a movie director.
Oh, how about that?
And it was same was true of oh my gosh,
Hideo Kojima.
Hideo Kojima. The same was true. It was same was true of Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, yeah.
He wanted to be a movie director, and you can really see that in the Metal Gear games.
Oh, yeah.
And also
Oh, yeah.
in the way that Matsuno directs his scenes, especially in Vagrant Story, where he's actually got control of a camera.
Yeah.
But they're very cinematic, and both of them would have been very good filmmakers, I feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just funny that on this page they got Ayasumi Matsuno film.
Yeah, Matsuno film. What if that was his idea then? I wonder if he was the one.
I bet it was. It was really freaking funny. But anyways, that's what plays on the intro. You actually start up the game, and you get some. You actually start up.
Okay, here's our.
You actually start up the game, and you get some narration from a character named Arislam, Alislam, in the PS1 version, because it was incorrectly translated, because they don't have that sound in Japanese. Obviously, the L and the R's get confused a lot.
Yes, and it's an S and a Z. Yes, and it's an S and a Z.
Yeah.
Although the Japanese does have that. But
so his name is Arislam.
Oh, I see.
Instead of Alislam, which is what it was in the PS1 version.
I don't know that that's that big a difference, other than the name Al-Islam sounds very Middle Eastern. It sounds specifically, well, Al-Islam, I guess.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I wonder if they, maybe out of some considerations for a religion, said, yeah, let's go ahead and change that.
Yeah. So here's where I'm going to start talking about some of the differences in the script. I told you, I precluded this by saying I would die on the hill that the War of the Lions script is way better than this one. I will get into the nuances of that. However, in this case, I actually like the way that the Arislam narration is written in the PS1 version a little better than in the War of the Lions version. We'll talk about some differences here, but I'm just going to read. But here's an example of why. Like, so just as a quick comparison. In the, oh wait, no. This is the War of the Lions version. Yes, I'm right. I like the, okay, I'm straight now. I like the PS1 version better.
Okay.
So I'm going to read the PS1 version. He says, I am Al-Islam. I'm just going to read. So I'm going to read the PS1 version. We'll talk about some differences here, but I'm just going to read. Some differences here, but I'm just going to read. So I'm going to read the PS1 version. Talk about some differences here. So I'm going to read the PS1 version. He says, He says, I am Al-Islam, a scholar of ancient Ivalice history.
Takes so long. Takes so long to get through the text. Oh my goodness. Stupidly long time.
History. Have you ever heard of the Lion War? It divided Ivalice in two over who would be the successor to the throne. It ended with the appearance of a young hero named Delita.
These should be so much faster, like way faster.
It divided Ivalice in two.
Hello. Playback. Let's do it.
It divided Ivalice in two over who would be the successor to the throne. It ended with the appearance of a young hero named Delita. Everybody living here knows this hero's tale, but we also know this hero's tale.
Gosh, it's so slow.
But we also know that what we see with our eyes alone isn't necessarily the truth. And I really like this line. And I really like this line particularly as it brings up Ramza's image. He's kind of like, his back is turned.
Yes, you don't see his face as well.
And it's like, here's
his face as well.
And it's like, here's a young man. He is the young son of the noble Beowulf family. It just says of the noble Beowulf. It should be family. Pillars of knighthood. There's no record of his playing an active part in history, but according to the Bury report, released last year, concealed for many years by the church, this unknown man is the true hero. The church claims he was a blasphemer and anarchist, the root of all evil. But is this the truth? Won't you join me on the journey for the truth? Before that, please tell me your name and birthday. This is where you input the character's name, and you get assigned your zodiac sign, depending on what you choose as the birth date.
Excuse me.
He says, I am Al-Islam, a scholar of ancient Ivalice history. Have you ever heard of the Lion War? It divided Ivalice.
Oh my gosh, dude, come on.
War. It divided Ivalice in two over who would be the successor to the throne.
Dude.
Over who would be the successor to the throne. It ended with the appearance of a young hero named Delita. Everybody living here knows this hero's tale.
This is stupid. It just can't hold on.
Living here knows this hero's tale. But we also know that what we see with our eyes alone isn't necessarily.
Stop.
And I really like this.
Stop.
Know that what we see with our eyes alone isn't necessarily the truth. And I really like this line particularly as it brings up Ramza's image. He's kind of like, his back is turned.
Yes, you don't see his face as well.
And it's like, here's a young man. He is the young son of the noble Beowulf family. It just says of the noble Beowulf. It should be family. Pillars of knighthood. There's no record of his playing an active part in history, but according to the Durai report, released last year, concealed for many years by the church, this unknown man is the true hero. The church claims he was a blasphemer and anarchist, the root of all evil. But is this the truth? Won't you join me on the journey for the truth? Before that, please tell me your name and birthday. This is where you input the character's name, and you get assigned your zodiac sign, depending on what you choose as the birthday. I mentioned this already, but I love this framing.
Yeah.
I love this framing as history is wrong, and we're about to find out what really happened. There's something about that that really hooks me, and I think that's really cleverly written there. Presents a lot of like little intrigue and mystery about like, especially that line. Here's a young man, and he's not. You can't see his face. You know, it's just building mystery about this Ramza character, our main character of the game. Who was he? What role did he really play in history? And you know, you're about to like jump in and find out, right?
Well, it's so funny because you don't even know the history. This is just a made-up world.
I know.
But you're intrigued as to what really did happen. It's like you don't even know the fake story.
Because you want the truth. I don't want to be lied to. Like, tell me what really happened, right?
Yeah.
So, I really, really like that. After that, you get a cutscene of some chocobos. Running as you have like the opening title, the opening credits and things.
Yeah.
They're pretty different between the War of the Lions version and the PS1 version. PS1 version has some pretty rough little like animations of some very blocky 3D, almost like Lego looking people riding chocobos as like you get like titles coming on the screen. I still think it's well made.
It's sweet. I think it's really cool.
Based on the fact that this was really early 3D animation. And
but there's that shot. There's that first shot after you enter your name and birthday, where the camera's kind of pivoting around a building. Kind of going around into this just beautiful scenery. Yeah. It's so good.
And then it kind of turns up to the sky, and the Final Fantasy title comes on screen.
Yeah.
And then it kind of
Hello, show me what I'm seeing here. Hello, stop being stupid. Oh my goodness, computer. I need a new computer desperately. It's just too slow for video editing now.
Beautiful scenery. Yeah. It's so good.
And then it kind of turns up to the sky, and the Final Fantasy title comes on screen.
Yeah.
It's really great.
It's very cool. I love the graphical
Have you seen the War of the Lions version?
I have not of the intro, no.
right here, you fetcher. What the fetch? Gosh, this computer is running really slowly. I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and upgrade soon. It's just really chugging for me right now. It's not fast enough.
Have some chocobos running as you have like the opening title, the opening credits and things.
Yeah.
They're pretty different between the War of the Lions version and the PS1 version. PS1 version has some pretty...
Do this.
Rough little like animations of some very blocky 3D, almost like Lego looking people riding chocobos as like you get like titles coming on the screen. I still think it's well made.
It's sweet. I think it's really cool.
Based on the fact that this was really early 3D animation. And
but there's that shot. There's that first shot after you enter your name and birthday, where the camera's kind of pivoting around a building, kind of going around into this just beautiful scenery. Yeah. It's so good.
And then it kind of turns up to the sky, and the Final Fantasy title comes on screen.
Yeah.
It's really great.
It's very cool. I love the graphical
Have you seen the War of the Lions version?
I have not of the intro, no. I have not.
I'm going to show it to you because...
Do I have that? I wonder if I have that. Tutorial stuff.
Then you'll get an idea for the style of the cutscenes.
I actually have seen some of the cutscenes.
Oh, you have?
So I looked at some of those today.
So you know what
the hand-drawn look, kind of.
Yeah.
How they kind of faked it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes it clearer that it's Delita who is riding those chocobos and going towards the Orban Monastery.
Well, that makes sense, except that I don't know who Delita is at this point in the game. I mean, I hadn't played it enough to really remember that, I guess. So I was just like, they're just people.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, these people are riding to the Orban Monastery. You might think, oh, these are the knights that end up attacking us in the opening scene or something like that.
Right.
But it's actually, well, now that I think about it, Delita kind of splits.
You know what? I just gotta go through this. Too slow.
I'm going to show it to you because then you'll get an idea for the style of the cutscenes.
I actually have seen some of the cutscenes.
Oh, you have?
I looked at some of those today.
So you know what
the hand-drawn look, kind of.
Yeah.
How they kind of faked it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes it clearer that it's Delita who is riding those chocobos and going towards the Orban Monastery.
Well, that makes sense, except that I don't know who Delita is at this point in the game. I mean, I hadn't played it enough to really remember that, I guess. So I was just like, they're just people.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, these people are riding to the Orban Monastery. You might think, oh, these are the knights that end up attacking us in the opening scene or something like that.
Right.
But it's actually, well, now that I think about it, Delita kind of splits off from them.
Yeah,
and he goes into the back.
Yeah.
So maybe he was with those knights. Maybe those are the knights that are attacking you. Anyways, the reason I say that is because I'm aware of something that has not been revealed yet about those knights, and I don't want to spoil it ahead of time. So, anyways, it's hard to decipher like who's working for who and who are spies and these sorts of things. but we're just going to go right now with what the story tells us about.
Hold on, how can I make this?
And going towards the Orban Monastery.
Well, that makes sense, except that I don't know who Delita is at this point in the game. I mean, I hadn't played it enough to really remember that, I guess. So I was just like, they're just people.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, these people are riding to the Orban Monastery. You might think, oh, these are the knights that end up attacking us in the opening scene or something like that.
Right.
But it's actually... So maybe he was with those knights, and maybe those are the knights that are attacking you. Anyways, the reason I say that is because I'm aware of something that... anyways, there's... Really, well... The reason I say that is because I'm aware of something that has not been revealed yet. Opening scene or something like that.
Right.
But it's actually, well, the reason I say that is because I'm aware of some. Well, the reason I say that is because. But it's actually, well, the reason I say that is because I'm aware of something that has not been revealed yet about those knights, and I don't want to spoil it ahead of time. So anyways, it's hard to decipher like who's working for who and who are spies and these sites, these sorts of things. But we're just going to go right now with what the story tells us about who these people are, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, Delita splits off from the group.
Right.
And he rides into the back of Orban Monastery. He's going to kind of go in through the back while those other dudes go in through the front. It's off from the group. Anyways, Delita splits off from the group.
Right.
And he rides into the back of Orban Monastery. He's going to kind of go in through the back while those other dudes go in through the front. And so then it comes down as Princess Orvelia. This right.
Yeah.
So anyways, Delita splits off from the group.
Right.
And he rides into the back of Orban Monastery. He's going to kind of go in through the back while those other dudes go in through the front. And so then
Good enough.
Those other dudes going through the front. And so then it comes down as Princess Orvelia. This is where we get into the in-game graphics. As Princess Orvelia.
Oh, it's just going to keep playing.
Graphics. As Princess Orvelia.
And
Ovelia.
This is later.
Oh, I forgot that this happened to me. Yeah, let's forget about that.
Those other dudes going through the front. And so then it comes down as Princess Orvelia. This is where we get into the in-game graphics. As Princess Orvelia.
And
Ovelia.
This is later in the story kind of stuff.
So timeline-wise.
Yeah, so they're kind of putting us.
Okay, I want to grab, I think this one, yeah.
is where we get into the in-game graphics, as Princess Orvelia.
And this is later in the story kind of stuff.
So timeline-wise.
Yeah, so they're kind of putting us into the middle of the story right here.
Yes.
Save that.
It comes down as Princess Orvelia. This is where we get into the in-game graphics, as Princess Orvelia.
And this is later in the story kind of stuff.
So timeline-wise.
Yeah, so they're kind of putting us into the middle of the story right here.
Yes. This is in medias res. This is at the present timeline of the game's main conflict during the War of the Lions. After this scene, we're going to do a jump backwards. And the whole first chapter will take place in Delita and Ramza's past.
Yeah.
And will lead up to how they ended up where they are in the opening scene. Because in the opening scene, Ramza exclaims, Delita is alive? So he seems to be confused about the fact that Delita is even alive. But then, why is he serving under the banner of Duke Goltana? So Ramza is really shocked to see that his old friend is still alive at the end of this scene. So then it jumps back in time, and we lead up to what happened. Why he believes that, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, we come into the monastery itself. Princess Orvelia is praying for protection.
Yeah.
She's been living there for a while. This isn't really explained yet, but she was kind of sent there, and she's been more or less studying there at the monastery. The church of, I think it's called Glabados, or something like that. That's like the main, Ivalice's like main religion. And so, she's been studying there under Simon, I think, who is the priest at Orban Monastery.
Okay.
Her knights, the leader of the knights who guard her is Agrias, and she's in there, and Simon is in there, and she's like, Princess, you need to hurry. She's trying to hurry her along.
Right. But she's offering her prayer.
Yeah, she's like, I'll just be right there, let me just finish. And it's like, we don't have time for this. And Simon's like, you really need to listen. The leader of the knights who guard her is Agria. And she's in there, and Simon is in there, and she's like, Princess, you need to hurry. She's trying to hurry her along.
But she's offering her prayer.
Yeah, she's like, I'll just be right there, let me just finish. And it's like, we don't have time for this. And Simon's like, you really need to listen. Princess, please, get a move on. Things are about to get bad, right? And then a bunch of mercenaries through the door and come in, led by Gafgarian.
Yes.
So this is where I want to look at a couple of the differences between the scripts. Of mercenaries bust through the door and come in, led by Gafgarian.
Yes.
So this is where I want to look at a couple of the differences between the scripts. and make my case for why I like the War of the Lions version so much more. Lions version so much more. So, it's not only just the fact that I enjoy like the War of the Lions version so much more. It's not only just the fact that I thoroughly and genuinely enjoy that sort of older form of English.
Yeah.
I think it's a much more beautiful form of the English language. I know that I have maybe some advantage on some people in terms of my familiarity with that language because I grew up reading the King James Bible and scripture and things like that. But on top of that, my mother would read us Shakespeare when we were children.
Oh, nice.
So I became familiar with the form, the way it's structured, with the vocabulary of that time.
And some of the syntax and grammar is kind of backwards.
Yes, right.
But
I love it. I just love it. I have fond memories of studying with my mother, and I feel like the language is, I don't know, to put it in a funnier way, it's just a more beastly version of English. It just reads better to me. It just sounds better to me. And I also have an affinity for high fantasy literature. And a lot of the dialogue in high fantasy literature is styled in this way.
Yeah.
And so I just really, really enjoy the War of the Lions version because of that. Now, a lot of people will call it out for having purple prose, which for those who are unfamiliar with the term, it's poetic to a detriment. They're trying too hard to sound flowery and to make it sound really Shakespearean, right? Which he was a writer and a poet, so his language tended to
maybe not be so realistic.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily how they spoke,
right?
But it just sounded beautiful.
Yes.
Right. So there's an artistic element to it. That the dialogue in the War of the Lions version suffers from being too much on that side and not so much on the grounded side.
Okay.
And I think there are some good examples right here in the beginning where I agree with that sentiment. Okay. There are times when it can sound like that. I think the vast majority of the time, it does not, and also is far clearer as to what the intention of the dialogue is than what the poorly translated PS1 version is. And there's a couple of very sore spots of contention on this, right from the opening scene in which people and I are going to go do battle in the comments on this. But when Gafgarian busts in the PS1 version of the game, Agrias says, "Don't be rude to the princess, Gafgarian." And he says in response, as he does a little bit of a bow, "Is this going to be all right, Agrias? This is an urgent issue for us." And he says in response, as he does a little bit of a bow, "Is this going to be all right, Agrias? This is an urgent issue for us." There's nothing about that in bit of a bow. Bow. Is this going? Little bit of a bow. Is this bow? Bow. Is it bow?
Let's just keep it in.
Bit of a bow. Is this going to be all right, Agrius? This is an urgent issue for us. There's nothing about that inherently to me that shows that Gafgarian is being sarcastic with this remark. It's almost like, oh, sorry, princess.
Right.
Is this better?
Well, especially for us entering this game not knowing anything ahead of time, who these characters are. We don't know. And so if you're starting off leading with a way too subtle sarcasm that nobody's going to pick up on, yeah, maybe not the best choice.
In the War of the Lions retranslation, in the PSP remaster, Gafgarian, or Agrius says, Gafgarian, you forget yourself, sir. Retranslation. Agrius says, Gafgarian, you... Retranslation. Agrius says, Gafgarian, you forget yourself, sir. You were in the presence of the princess. And he says, mayhap bowed heads would less offend. You would do well to waste less time on idle pleasantries. So...
Okay, I need to go get some more of the Lions footage. Let's see, here it is. Go. guess that's the end of that one. No, it isn't. Just fast forward a little bit. Alright, that's enough of the battle. Let's move it forward. That archer over there is named Biggs? I wonder if Biggs and Wedge are enemies that you fight in this battle. I wonder if one of the other archers is named Wedge. Because that was Biggs that just shot there. Finish him off, or heal yourself, I guess. You finish him off. Alright, who's left? Oh, just the chemist. This is what I really wanted to grab.
The princess!
This way. Be quick. And try making a little less noise.
I'll not take orders from you!
You've quite a mouth on you, princess. Forgive me. 'Tis your birth and faith that wrong you, not I.
cannot be.
Delita, he lives? But why does he fight under the banner of Duke Cortana?
And this will take us into the flashback, which I also need to record. Fetch is going on. Do freeze? There we go. Alright, that's good enough. For now.
Retranslation. Agrias says, Gafgarian, you forget yourself, sir. You were in the presence of the princess. And he says, mayhap bowed heads would less offend. You would do well to waste less time on idle pleasantries. So
it's better.
I love it.
It's just better.
Fetching love it. I love the language. However, I do agree with specifically the word mayhap.
Yeah, mayhap.
I think you could exchange this for perhaps, and it would sufficiently still belong in that older sounding language, but would be easier for someone who's not familiar with Shakespearean language to know that he's saying maybe, not mayhap. Some people just don't know what mayhap means.
Sure.
So it's perhaps would have maybe gotten that across a little easier. Maybe, not mayhap. Some people just don't know what mayhap means.
Sure.
So it's perhaps would have maybe gotten that across a little easier. I think they could have just foregone the use of the word mayhap in this game.
Okay.
It's used many times.
Okay.
And just replaced that with perhaps. That would have helped alone.
Sure.
But here, I'm going to just say perhaps to make the point. Perhaps bowed heads would less offend. You would do well to waste less time on idle pleasantries. He's snapping back at Agrius.
Yeah.
So he's not actually bowing and saying, oh, will this be all right? He's saying, oh, mayhap bowed heads would less offend. Stop wasting time, please.
So he's purposefully elevating his speech in order to make a mockery of the
Yeah, he's mocking
situation.
Agrius.
Yes, yeah.
So
And possibly even mocking the
princess.
the church.
And the
yeah,
church.
just the whole idea that, oh, you know.
He's a rough character, and he does not care about formality.
Right.
And I feel like that's much clearer in the second example.
Nice.
So it's that kind of thing. I'm not going to like read every freaking example in the whole game. I'm not going to bring it up every episode and like compare. But this is one example that more or less gets the point across that I'm trying to make. And if you compare, if you read both, you'll see, oh wow, that's what they're saying in this version. That's actually clearer to the intention of the character.
Yeah.
And I find that is, I mean, just all over the place. It's because I'm playing the PS1 version, as are you, for the podcast, but I'm referencing my archived footage of the War of the Lions version.
Okay.
And so when I'm taking my notes on the story, that's the version I'm going through, and it's like, oh wow, that's clearer. Oh wow, okay. Oh wow. It's like all the time I'm feeling that way. It's a much better translation.
Interesting.
And much clearer. It goes on to say, let's see, because she gets upset or whatever she. Because she gets upset or whatever, she fires back at him again. In the PS1 version, he's like, I'm being more than kind to the guard captains here. Much better translation.
Interesting.
And much clearer. Because she gets upset or whatever, she fires back at him again. In the PS1 version, he's like,
Come on. Hey, Rob, what's going on? Good to see you. Start right there. Just go right there or something.
Because she gets upset or whatever, she fires back at him again. In the PS1 version, he's like, I'm being more than kind to the guard captains here. But in the PSP, he says, a guard captain in these rain-sodden hinterlands ought not expect chivalry. To the guard captains here. But in the PSP, he says, a guard captain in these rain-sodden hinterlands ought not expect chivalry. Right? So it's like, because she gets upset or whatever, she fires back at him again. In the PS1 version, he's like, I'm being more than kind to the guard captains here.
Oh, Rob says, just woke up from a spider nightmare and saw the notification. Should take my mind off it while it fades. Dude, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that.
because
Yes, please feel free to join us.
she gets upset or whatever. She fires back at him again. In the PS1 version, he's like, I'm being more than kind to the guard captains here. But in the PSP, he says, a guard captain in these rain-sodden hinterlands ought not expect chivalry. Right? So it's like he's just more sharp, more blunt, more... He's not like acquiescing to her reprimands of him. He's standing right up to her and being like, I don't care about your ideas of formality.
Yeah.
We need to go now.
Yeah.
Let's get a move on, grab the princess, and let's get out of here. That's his personality, and it's much clearer in the latter example.
Well, great.
Okay, so on top of that, I think one other thing that I'll say is that some of it, because it was a favorite line, when Delita says, blame.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get to that part. That's like way over here. Oh, that went too far. Holy crap. Okay, a little further. A little further. Okay, too far. Jeez, dude. There it is.
When Delita says, blame yourself or God,
Yes.
right? He's on the... When Delita says, blame yourself or God.
Yeah.
Right?
Gosh dang it, come on.
Says, blame yourself or God.
Yes.
Right? He's on the chocobo. He's got Ovelia. He kind of punches her in the gut and knocks her out.
Yes.
Lifts her on his shoulder.
There we go.
Puts her on, and Agrius comes running out of the monastery. Hey, wait! And he turns, and he says, "Don't blame us. Blame yourself or God." People really love how punchy and sharp that dialogue is, and I can kind of see where they're coming from, and I can actually agree with that. I still really like the PSP version better. "'Tis your birth and faith that wrong you, not I."
This one.
Forgive me. 'Tis your birth and faith that wrong you, not I.
And sharp that dialogue is. And I can kind of see where they're coming from, and I can actually agree with that. I still really like the PSP version better. "'Tis your birth and faith that wrong you, not I." Better. "'Tis your birth and faith that wrong you, not I."
I like that.
See where they're coming from, and I can actually agree with that. I still really like the PSP version better. "'Tis your birth and faith that wrong you, not I."
I like that. Yeah. Yes. I like that. Yeah. Yes. You see, it just conveys a more sophisticated tone, I guess, to the character. That he's very well thought out when he speaks in that regard. I don't know.
And he actually says it in the PSP version. He says it to Ovelia as he's trying to drag her out. He doesn't turn and say it to
not to
Agrius.
us. Okay, sure.
So it makes more sense because she's a princess.
Right.
You know, "'Tis your birth and faith that wrong you, not I."
And it's more or less a reference to she was praying for safety, more or
Yeah.
less. And he showed up and he's like, "You're not safe, but it's not my fault."
Yeah.
Like, you prayed to something that can't protect you, so
Right.
it's your fault.
Now, I will say this, again, to, I guess, throw a bone to the crowd that loves the PS1 version of the dialogue. You're not wrong in saying that you PS1 version of the dialogue.
What the hell?
PS1 version of the dialogue. You're not wrong in saying that you like the more punctual, sort of like straight or blunt dialogue of the PS1 version. And it's not like the PS1 version has examples that are like as bad as Final Fantasy VII's "This guy are sick."
Yeah,
the
it
really
sounds like
clumsily
Not
written
yet.
lines.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not. Oh, wait, what? There we go. Rob saying, I have a weird nightmare filter. Whenever I have dreams, they fade entirely from my memory within the hour. With nightmares, I don't wake up scared, just with a feeling, that was weird, then it goes. I don't remember my dreams very often either. I do sometimes. Like, I wouldn't say I never remember them, but it's often that I'll not remember them, and they kind of fade for me too, where it's like, I'll remember it really strongly when I first wake up, but like, a little into the day, and I almost entirely forget what I had dreamed. So I have kind of a similar thing, but... This is on to tactics, though. Despite deciding not to bother actually playing it, I charged up the PSP for the first time in years to start tomorrow. Oh, nice. Yeah, I really freaking love this game. It's such a blast. Because I've been so busy, I might not end up being able to stream all the way through the game, like playing the game. Because Kason and I are actually getting together next week. We already filmed episode 3 yesterday. So I have episode 2 I'm editing here, but then 3 is already filmed. And then next week we're going to film both the last 2 episodes, 4 and 5, which will finish the game. So I'm just reviewing the cutscenes in order to know what to talk about. So I might not be able to play all the way through it on stream, like in real time, so to speak, but we really needed to get ahead again. Because we completely lost our buffer over the holidays to where we shot the podcast that went up this week on Wednesday. We shot that on Monday. So I had to rush to finish that and get it up. And I do not want that to happen. Yeah, I sent you a reply to that email, Rob. Thank you. The scans are awesome. I think they look really good. I really like how they have a glossary of terms in the PSP manual for all those words people probably don't know. Anyways, yeah, we needed to get our buffer back up in case there's an emergency or something happens for whatever reason. We can't get the video up on time, or if there's an error, a card reading error or a hard drive fails or something like that, right? We need to be able to have a buffer so that in cases of emergency or big failures or mistakes, we don't miss a week. So, Kason and I are actually going to be finishing up Final Fantasy Tactics next Thursday when we film again, because we'll be doing the last 2 episodes. So, and I should probably just do this now, actually, that I think about it. We're going to be doing the vote for the next game now. And it's going to be, we're going to try and do a one-off game. So a game 99 plus. That's impossible. What? We don't have enough patrons for it to be 99 plus. That's way too many notifications. Don't get it. Whatever. Anyway, I probably need to make a new post because we're going to do a one-off, just a game that takes only 1 week to cover. And then after that, we're going to do the state-of-the-art sequels poll, which will be for Xenosaga, Nier Automata, or Mass Effect 2. So a sequel to one of the games we've already played. But first we want to do a one-off game. And that's going to be between... something like that. So we're going to do Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. We're going to do Journey. We're going to do What Remains of Edith Finch. We're going to do Spec Ops: The Line. Yeah. Okay, and this is for these patrons. And we are good to go here, I think. Everything good. Everything looks good. Oh, wait, I need to see poll settings. I need to set an end date. When do I want to know this by? Because we need to announce it. I guess if we're done with that, then it's going to have to be the next week. So we have to know probably by Wednesday next week. Or I guess it could be Thursday. It could end Wednesday night, so that on Thursday when we film the last episode, we can announce. And then, but the thing is if that's the case, people who watch are only going to have like one day. If you watch when this is announced on Wednesday, you'll have like one day to vote. So I should probably extend it through Friday next week. And then we can have the weekend leading up to the next week to play whatever ends up getting picked. Because we got to beat the whole game. I'll say Friday next week is probably when it needs to be for sure. So the 21st. So people will watch it on this day and they'll have a couple of days to vote. When you say one off, does that include everything, including dev history? That's a good point. I wonder how much dev history there would be on any of these games in particular. I might do like a condensed dev history kind of a thing, where maybe I generally read a ton of quotes and make it take about an hour or something. Maybe an hour and a half. Maybe I'll try to do a lot more like putting it into my own words versus like reading a ton of quotes, if that's the case, or I'll think about that. But I think that what I would want to do, what would be like probably ideal, is to have like a half-hour section on dev history and then spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours discussing the full game of each one of whatever one of these gets picked. And if it's absolutely necessary, maybe we'll break it into 2 episodes or something. But something quick, right, before we move on to the next larger. Because, like, Xenosaga is going to be long, and Nier Automata would probably be pretty long. Well, Nier Automata might be about 5 episodes, but Xenosaga for sure would be longer than 5. Anyway, I'll think about that. But, what did I just say? The 21st, right? Yeah, 21st. It does, yes. It has a really good making of. I'm going to say 11:59 p.m. on Friday. 1 response per person. I know that Rob likes to be able to do more than 1 response, but I think 1 response is better. Okay, publish. Let's just leave it at that for now. Okay.
Has examples that are like as bad as Final Fantasy VII's "This guy are sick."
Yeah,
the really clumsily written lines.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's much better than that. So like the PS1 version is still very readable, and it's still very good.
I like it. Yeah.
There are more than a good handful of examples where I prefer the PS1 version of that line better than I do the PSP version of that line. But the overwhelming whole, I would say I much prefer the War of the Lions script. So I'm going to let that go to rest now. We won't focus too much on that going forward. The important things are here. You go outside, and apparently a group, a party of Southern Knights have been dispatched to take the princess to Duke Goltana. The mercenaries that Ramza is with are employed by the Northern Sky Knights, and these are the 2 factions fighting each other. So Agrias is upset. She's like, what is Duke Goltana thinking? Why would he send knights here to kidnap the princess? This is going to ignite tensions. This is stupid. Why would you do this?
Should probably show that, I guess.
The princess. This is going to ignite tensions. This is stupid. Why would you do this? Thinking. Is upset. She's like, what is Duke Goltana thinking? Why would he send knights here to kidnap the princess? This is going to ignite tensions. This is stupid. Why would you do this? And they're basically like, give us the princess or else we're going to have a fight here. And so and this is where Ramza is first. He first appears, right? He comes in. He's following.
I didn't realize that was gonna be the
appears, right? He comes in. He's following.
I didn't realize that was gonna be the main character necessarily, because we don't see him initially.
Right.
So he kind of steps into the picture a little bit later, and I will knock the art style just a little bit right here. I love it. Just a little bit right here. I love it. It's really cool. But with the 2D hand-drawn, especially the images of all of the people, they look too similar. They look too
all
much
their
like
faces
each other.
are identical.
They all have the. They look too
all
much
their
like
faces
each
are
other.
identical.
They all have the exact same face, except slightly different hair, but it's all similar colored hair. It's really hard for me to tell
Yes, who
based
is
on
who.
the images who is who.
I agree. I agree 100%. And this is a blanket criticism of anime in general from people who
Yeah.
are not anime fans.
This-
They say all the faces are the same, they just change the hair color. This is a literal
This is
example
literal.
of that.
And they don't even have eye color. Like it's just
No.
the little beads and then the little mouth, and
Yeah.
it is very, very difficult to tell people apart, especially when they're dressed similar or they have similar length hair.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
So I didn't even know who my character was, and then I forgot that I had just named my character previously, and I'm like, oh, I'm playing as Agrias. Oh wait, oh yeah, I'm Ramza. Okay, wait, what's he doing though? He seems to be a what'd you call it? A watcher. He's on the sidelines for what's going on between
Yeah,
Agrias.
he's not a
and-
leader in this situation.
Yeah, yeah, in this situation.
He's a mercenary following Gafgarian.
Gafgarian, yeah.
And they do make a point here that Ramza is, he says, or I think Gafgarian says something like, all right, this is what we're paid for. What, you got a problem,
Yeah.
Ramza, with this or whatever?
Right. Right.
Because I would guess that if this were more cinematic,
Right.
because I would guess that if this were more cinematically presented, that maybe he'd have like a look of misgiving on his face,
Yeah,
or
you don't really
something
get
where he
that.
looks like he's not like quite ready, or he's
Yeah.
he's questioning something.
Yeah.
And Gafgarian's it's like, what's the problem? You got a problem with this? Like, what's going on?
Don't you like money? They're giving
And
us
he
money to do the
says-
thing. You don't you want to do the thing for money?
And he says, you know, I'm no longer a knight, just a
Right.
mercenary like you, or something to that effect. So apparently, you know, he's alluding to the fact he used to be a knight,
Right.
he's no longer a knight. So, ooh, what's going on with this character, right?
It's very interesting when you.
Rob is saying, is the studio background staying the same for this series because it only really works on the close-ups? The white shot just looks cloudy. I basically was rushed to create backgrounds on this one. So I will try to put more effort into the next series. Like I said, we shot this on Monday, and it was put up on the Wednesday following the day we shot it. And I was absolutely, let's just say, like, things have been very hectic for me in my personal life. I have been seeing a lot of doctors. I have been very busy outside of YouTube stuff. I've been struggling a little bit, and so I was kind of just doing the best I could to put those together for this one.
You start out a game and you're not seeing.
On with this character, right?
It's very interesting when you start out a game and you're not seeing your main character, and then your main character shows up as possibly not the
Person in charge.
person in charge of everything, and you're just kind of like lower following orders, more or less. I find that very intriguing.
Yeah, I agree. So you go outside, you get your first battle with those knights.
Another reason why it was difficult for me to put this together is because there's not a lot of great images of Final Fantasy Tactics that really work for a background like that. Like, basically the main key art in any of the marketing is this image, but this image is a very, like, vertically, like, the aspect ratio on this image, it's more of like a portrait sort of, a tall image, right? So it doesn't really lend itself very well for widescreens. So I was struggling to find a good image to use that would allow our logo to go well over the top of it, and, you know, a bunch of other things. So
So you go outside, you get your first battle with those knights. take them out. It's a tutorial battle. It's really easy. But then you get a scene right after that where Delita came in the back and kidnapped the princess, taking her out.
I should probably... Wait a minute, I do have this, don't I? It's like back here. Yeah.
You get your first battle with those knights. Take them out. It's a tutorial battle. It's really easy. But then you get a scene right after that where Delita came in the back and kidnapped the princess, taking her out the back of the monastery. They come running in, and like I said, he sort of like knocks her out because she's really struggling against him, so he kind of like knocks her unconscious. Not like with a head, not a head trauma, but he punches her in the gut mostly. She,
yeah.
And then
I don't know how
picks
you
her up. I don't. God, mostly. She,
yeah.
And then
I don't know how
picks
you
her up. I don't know how
totally
you do that.
knock someone out that way.
Maybe
but
there's like a, what do you call this? There's
sternum.
this, right in this area. I've been hit here playing football, right? And it's just immediately, if you take a hit, there's a spot like right here where it's just like you can't breathe for a long time.
Yes, it'll
and
like
you
knock
feel
the
like
wind
you're
out of
about
you or
to die,
something.
and you feel like you crumple. It's like paralyzing.
Sure. Okay. Sure.
I took a like the crown of a helmet right to that spot when I played football in 6th grade, and it was like I felt like I was going to die. Like I thought, I can't breathe, 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 and it was a long time before my breath came back.
Yeah.
It's
So I could see that.
He did something like that.
Like she's not knocked out, but she's just because you take a punch and you're just like it takes a lot of energy out of you, and then someone could then just pick you up, but it doesn't mean she's unconscious. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the game wants she is
She's
unconscious.
unconscious in the
but
game.
you know, you can kidnap someone by punching him in the gut.
Well, it's all good, fellas. I'm getting it figured out.
He loads her up on his chocobo. He takes off. Agrius is chasing after him on.
You know, I've spent a long time kind of ignoring some health problems, or not ignoring, but just delaying getting them taken care of, because it's going to be expensive. It's going to cost a lot of money. And now I'm, paying the price of that, where it's kind of all culminating all at once, and I'm kind of paying for it all at once instead of a little at a time. And anyway, it sucks, but it's not like I'm dying or anything. I'll be okay.
Can't get him. But Ramza is looking at him. Is like,
all right, let's go to this version.
yeah. So he loads her up on his chocobo. He takes off. Agrius is chasing after him on foot. Can't get him. But Ramza is looking at him. He's like, oh my gosh, that's Delita. So this is the first time you hear the character's name. But, well, no, you didn't, because you heard it in the intro from Arslan, right?
Sure, yeah.
Arslan talked about Ramza and Delita being the two key players in the story. But Ramza is confused. One, that he's still alive, that Delita's still alive, and two, that he's under the banner of Duke Gultani. He's like, what's going on?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Why is this happening? Holy crap. And then we do a time skip back.
Then it's the flashback, yeah. I gotta say real quick though, this is interesting. At the very beginning, as Al-Aslam is talking about the history and things, and he says, what is it? This was concealed for many years by the church.
Yes.
Specifically, he's talking about the church.
Yes, the church is concealing the true history.
Hinting, which is, of course, as most games around this time period, that the church are the bad guys, the religious people are the bad people.
Yeah.
And you just kind of see where it's going right away. I don't love that that much when all they say is just one little line, and then okay, I know who the bad guy is now, like for the whole thing. Not necessarily that I know it, but I know where things are going in a certain direction. I don't know.
It kind of tips it off too.
Yeah, just a little too much
to you.
Yeah, a little too early, I think. It's one of the first lines is like, concealed for many years by the church. It's like they're trying to hide, this doesn't mean the church is bad or anything, but it's like, no, it does. It does, though. It does. And then, I did the 2D thing with everybody looks the same. Ugh, my goodness. But yeah, they introduced the
Oops, what the heck?
mystery of Delita, and that's going to stick with us throughout the whole game, because even as we start, we're playing with him for hours and hours and hours, and we're like, hey, what happens here? Like, why does he turn? Yeah. I don't get what's going on here. But this introduces that mystery that kind of like will stay with you all the way to the end of chapter 1.
Yeah. Regarding the religious stuff, right?
Yeah,
the church is the bad guy thing.
Just 90s RPGs.
That's true as well, but there's definitely going to be a conversation about this later on in the podcast when we get a little further and we learn more about the church and everything. Because it was a point of contention between me and some fellow viewers of my Final Fantasy Tactics original review that I did. Huh. So it's something that I do want to bring up and discuss in terms of like, is this some kind of, criticism of Christianity in real life or something like that, right? So that will be a topic for later.
You can make the case for other games that we've played that it's like, it's a different world, everything's different. But this world seems to be pretty clearly based on medieval Europe.
Yeah.
So the Catholic
Church.
The connection's just a little bit closer than it was in, for example, Xenogears or something else.
Exactly. Okay.
All right.
So you get more narration from.
Okay, let's call this Garland. And this is what, 3814?
Okay,
all right.
So you get more narration from Iris Lamb here.
Yeah.
I like this.
Probably gonna have to have that be read a lot faster. Let's try 150 speed.
Records of the hero Delita first.
Oh, come on. Come on, please.
Appear 1 year.
That's ridiculous. Why are you like this? Why? It does not like this file. It hates it for some reason. Let's try it again.
Lions. The loss of the 50 Years' War saw knights returning from the front.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you to play faster now, so do that.
The loss of the 50 Years' War saw. So you get more narration from Iris Lamb here.
Yeah.
I like this. Records of the hero Delita first appear 1 year before the outbreak of the War of the Lions. The loss of the 50 Years' War saw knights returning from the front stripped of livelihood, their fealty to the crown and nobility abandoned. Many became...
Faster. Faster still.
Became rogues and traitors, men donning the thief's cloak and plotting treason against the crown. Records of the hero Delita first appear 1 year before the outbreak of the War of the Lions. The loss of the 50 Years' War saw knights returning from the front stripped of livelihood, their fealty to the crown and nobility abandoned. Many became rogues and traitors.
Yes, that's true, Rob. I was not able to test that before filming the first 2 episodes of the podcast, and I was not able to create a replacement for the next one, episode 3, because I literally finished it and put them up on those screens about 10 minutes before we filmed. So I just didn't have time.
I like
That's
this.
all.
Records of the hero Delita first appear 1 year before the outbreak of the War of the Lions. The loss of the 50 Years' War saw knights returning from the front stripped of livelihood, their fealty to the crown and nobility abandoned. Many became rogues and traitors, men donning the thief's cloak and plotting treason against the crown. It was a time of great unrest for Ivalice. Murder and theft were commonplace. Many were the young adventurer and mage who stepped forward to counter this threat. Of such, the city of Garland, too, saw its fair share.
That's good enough.
So we're here in Garland, and he's referring to those at the academy who are volunteering to try and stop all of these thieves and brigands and rogues and the Death Corps or the Corpse Brigade, just like wreaking havoc and chaos.
You're fine. I do the same thing. I mean, the second that I saw the footage when I pulled it to begin editing the first episode, I was like, oh my gosh. Well, actually, it would have been before that. It would have been while I was framing it up from the main camera. It's like, oh, those things are not in frame. I didn't want to back the camera up so you could see it because I really like let's see. Outside of like just how we are framed in the shot, if you like bring this up, right, and you see like where we fit in the composition, this framing to me is much better than how I used to frame this maybe back in, say, the FF8 podcast days, where I did have a wider angle lens on this and you could see the full screens. We were just so small in that image, and the wide angle lens kind of looked so wonky to me. Let's see. And we were just so small in the frame. Actually, it would have been episode 2.
Welcome.
That to me, it leaves all this empty space that doesn't look great, in my opinion. And I think it was even maybe in the following episode where I made it even wider. I'm trying to remember. It might have actually been one of the near episodes. I can't remember.
Welcome back to the stage.
But it's just in my opinion, we were too wide in this framing. That's where I had already changed at this point. Anyways, I can't remember precisely where it was. Yeah, like this to me, this framing is too wide. I don't like how that looks, so I like better this framing for the wide shot, personally. But yes, it does mean that part of the screen will be cut off. And so that's just something I have to keep in mind when designing these in the future. It's like, make sure that the image will span across the whole thing, and that the background image for the backdrop too can be something that kind of matches it. I think that what I might do for the next 2 episodes when we film on Thursday is maybe some kind of like texture that's like some kind of texture that is like an old scroll or like papyrus texture instead of a cloud texture, which will go here and here. And I'm gonna actually just use the new like metallic logo without the circle part, without the gold band on the circle and the blue sort of textured background. So just the metallic part. And then this will have kind of that same texture on it, but then I might put like characters like Ramza and Delita, maybe kind of reminiscent of what we have currently as our thumbnail for the first episode. And maybe throw in like Algus or Princess Ovelia or something like that. I also really wanted to get 2 banners for the background here, one with a white lion and one with a black lion. I guess Larg is usually on the left, so white lion and black lion, the Duke Gultana, Duke Larg. And I was kind of looking around on Etsy and other places to see if somebody had designed something like that, kind of like we did with the Renegade and Paragon banners. But again, I just didn't have time to get it ordered and sent to us by the time we would film this. And so we filmed 2 episodes without them. And then it was like episode 3 came around, and I had the debit card for the business for Resonant Arc, the company credit card. It had expired, so I couldn't use it to order anything until I went to the bank and got a new card. Usually they send them automatically in the mail, but something happened, something went wrong. So I didn't have a card I could use to order something like that in time for the 3rd episode either. So it's like now I could do it because I have the card and it's activated, but I would literally have it for 1 film session. And to me, it's like, that's just kind of not worth spending money on, right? So I may redesign these if I have time to do that for next Thursday's podcast. And I might put the PSP box and the PS1 box of the games in the center or something like that. But the main thrust of it is, like, it really bothers me too when what I create isn't, like, perfect. But, like, at this current moment of my life, things are really stressful and hectic behind the scenes. And it's something that pulled me away from being able to put as much effort into this set as I did on Mass Effect. Because I still have to edit these videos and get them up on time. I still wanted to make a top 10 tips on how to get started in Final Fantasy Tactics video. I still have people harping me every day about where are the Final Fantasy retrospective reviews. I just don't have time to do everything I would like to do because I can't work on this channel full time. So if I could, and you know, it's my full-time job to do this, all of this stuff would be immaculate. But there's only so much I can do sometimes.
Hearing to try and stop all of these thieves and brigands and rogues and the Death Corps or the Corpse Brigade, just like wreaking havoc and chaos across Ivalice. So that's where we are. Now, I do want to make another, sorry, I said I was going to be done with this, but I lied. In the script, in the PS1 script of this, because the one I just read was from the War of the Lions version.
Okay.
I'm going to read something to just make another point on how much better this version of, not even outside of the language, the style of the language, just it's just written better. It's just written better. Records of the hero Delita first appear 1 year before the outbreak of the War of the Lions. Oh, I'm on the wrong. Okay, here's the PS1 version. Delita's name appears for the first time a year before the Lion War broke out.
There we go.
It's just written better. Delita's name appears for the first time a year before. It's just written better. Delita's name appears.
Okay, now, where the F is this? Delita's name appears. There we go. This text is so slow in the original. I don't understand why. It's like unbearable. It needs to be like 250% speed faster, if not faster.
Appears for the first time a year before the Lion War broke out.
It needs to go even faster than twice as fast. That's insane. It needs to be probably 500%.
Appears for the first time a year before the Lion War broke out. Many soldiers who returned from the war had no jobs, little money, and even less loyalty to the crown. Now this is the important one. Many became thieves and rebels plotting.
Okay, then I'm going to have to be really...
Now this is the important one. Many became thieves and...
Fetch. Take this back to 100% speed. Frame hold. Oh, wait. Yes. Okay. And then just stretch that up.
And rebels plotting rebellion against the royal family.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Like the redundancy there, right?
Yeah.
Rebels plotting rebellion. It's like, duh. Like, that's what rebels do, right?
Oops, 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 boop, boop, boop. There we go. All right, how did that turn out?
It's just written. Delita's name appears for the first time a year before.
Whoops. There we go.
It's just written better. Delita's name appears for the first time a year before the Lion War broke out. Many soldiers who returned from the war had no jobs, little money, and even less loyalty to the crown. Now this is the important one. Many became thieves and rebels plotting rebellion against the royal family.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Like the redundancy there, right?
Yeah.
Rebels plotting rebellion. It's like, duh. Like, that's what rebels do, right? At the time, robbery and murder were commonplace in Ivalice. Many heroes and wizards came out of there, and Garland was no exception either. Yeah, it feels like it was translated by somebody who, like a Japanese person who was good with English, but not like great with it.
Sure.
Where you would do something like repeat rebels plotting rebellion, or many heroes and wizards came out of there. Right? Like it's before you've even heard of Garland. So like it's saying, at the time robbery and murder were commonplace in Ivalice, many heroes and wizards came out of there. Like out of where? What are you talking about? Out of Ivalice, the country, or what do you mean? But it's a reference to Garland, because Garland is where they're training, right? And Garland was no exception either. So there's just lots of little things like that.
Okay.
That just make the PS1 version, it just reads a little funny. And another reason why I like the War Lions translation much better. Anyways, we have a bunch of cadets here who are discussing rumors. There's a lot of them.
Let's probably show that. Wow, it takes a really long time for that text box to come up.
Anyways, we have a bunch of cadets here who are discussing rumors. There's a lot of unrest in the kingdom. So Ramza turns to Delita. I wonder where all this leads, Delita. What do you make of this? And Delita is saying, I'm not sure. I have my guesses, but... And Ramza says, I'm listening. Delita says, I think Duke Larg is coming to Garland. And Ramza says, Duke Larg? Why? Delita says, not just the Duke, the Marquis Elmdor de Limbury, too. And Ramza says, that's the first I've heard of it. This is not the sound of a state visit. And Delita says, all of Ivalice is in turmoil. The Order is supposed to be keeping things under control, but the fact is, they number too few. And Ramza says, and they mean to bolster their numbers with us. So, again, this is very succinct, quick dialogue.
Let's just cut that and move it over.
Dialogue, sharp, quick, to the point, that builds a little bit of context as to what's going on here. Prince Larg's coming, the Marquis is coming. Wait a minute, why then? Why? This is the first I'm hearing about this. This doesn't sound like a state visit. This must be something more to this, right? The kingdom's in turmoil, all these sorts of things. Then the commander comes in. And he basically says that the Northern Order is about to launch a campaign to destroy the Corpse Brigade. Or it's time to get rid of those guys. This means that a lot of their soldiers are going to be out from the forts and strongholds. And so they need to bolster the defenses at those key positions. And the cadets are being sent, these cadets are being sent to Igros Castle to bolster the defenses there. So that's their next assignment. And as he's in the middle of telling them this, another soldier comes in and reports that there are thieves in the town that were routed by a group of knights outside, and they've come into the town seeking refuge. And so he says, all right, before we head out, we're going to rout those thieves.
Should probably start a little later.
More to this, right? The kingdom's in turmoil, all these sorts of things. Then the commander, the kingdom's in turmoil, all these sorts of things. Then the commander comes in, and he basically says that the Northern Order is about to launch a campaign to destroy the Corpse Brigade. Or, it's time to get rid of those guys. This means that a lot of their soldiers are going to be out from the forts and strongholds. And so they need to bolster the defenses at those key positions. And the cadets are being sent, these cadets are being sent to Igros Castle to bolster the defenses there. So that's their next assignment. And as he's in the middle of telling them this, another soldier comes in and reports that there are thieves in the town that were routed by a group of knights.
Oh, I forgot that I need to... Jeez, come on, please.
Castle to bolster the defenses there. So that's their next assignment.
Okay, I'm just going to do a crossfade into when this person comes in.
There. So that's their next assignment. And as he's in the middle of telling them this,
oh my goodness, computer!
Another soldier comes in and reports that there are thieves in the town that were routed by a group of knights outside, and they've come into the town seeking refuge. And so he says, all right, before we head out, we're going to rout those thieves and join with those soldiers. So that's, let's go. So that's the first battle of the game, is you fight some thieves in Garland's, like...
Let's see. Should probably just grab a quick clip of that, maybe.
If you...
How far back do I have to go? Fetch! I can't spell my own freaking channel's name. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Hurry, 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 hurry. Just fine. Let me get the thing. Okay, we're right here. Bop it up, it up. We want Garland. Second battle. This is the one. Rob says, I just sent you another email. If you can find a cleaner image of this, it may work for you. Let me take a look. Oh, nice. That's pretty dope. Yeah, if this was like a widescreen image, that'd be super cool as a background. I wonder... That's from a cutscene in the game. But the cutscene will probably be lower resolution on the PSP version. I suppose what I could do is, you know what I could do? I know exactly what I could do. I could, well, I don't want the title on there though. I would just want Ramza and Delita without all of this text on it. But yes, an image like this would be perfect if I could find it. But in my Google image searches for I couldn't find anything that really worked, correct? Because it all had either the title on there, which kind of ruins things to put our podcast title over the top of it, or it was all this image, this one image that they use on everything. Or it's like fan art, right? Or certain screenshots for the game that don't work. But there just wasn't like a lot of good images. You know, for other Final Fantasy games, there's usually a lot. There's usually a lot of good images. But not the case here. When did this come out? This looks almost the same as my thumbnail. This had to have come out before mine. This thumbnail looks almost exactly the same as the one I put up for my tips and tricks, except I had Ramza and Delita in it. That is so crazy. What is the date that this was shared? This is just on how to control the game. Doesn't say. Oh, there it is. 2013. Wow, that's a long time ago. Anyway. Yes, if I could find this image in widescreen without the Square Enix and Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions logo on it, that would be perfect as to be used there. That'd be really good. Get into the bat a little bit here. Wow, still not battling yet. Let's go. Never attack from the front. What are you doing? Attack the girl on the roof from the back. Where'd Delita go? Oh, there he is. I want to get a shot of Ramza doing something. He's gonna run away. Get healed. Attack from the back. Attack from the back. Attack from the back! I think I was trying to knock her off the roof, but... There we go. Ramza gets to go. Don't attack from the front! I'm so mad at myself from 5 years ago or whatever. Anyway, I think that's all I need for that. Don't attack from the front. I'm so mad at myself from 5 years ago or whatever. Yes, that's it. Rob, that is the exact screenshot. Actually, it's not the exact screenshot, but it's probably good enough. It's a little blown out on his face. But I guess that doesn't matter because I'm probably going to put like a vignette effect on this. I'll probably scale it so that we get rid of the black bars and the text. That'll put Ramza pretty low in the screen, but I also like it better when he's standing. Where'd it go? Shoot, where'd that? Oh, you sent it in an email. That's right. Yeah, see, here, I don't know, it's like the brights in this image are a little dimmer and his face is a little... I guess I could do some color correction on it. But I like how he's standing instead of kneeling in front of him. I suppose if there's another part of that cutscene where he's standing up instead of kneeling, I could like do a split screen where I put... Or, I don't know. Anyway, maybe I can just go watch that cutscene on my own channel and find out if... This go away. Find out if the exact shot from the one you sent me in the email is in that cutscene somewhere.
So that's the first battle of the game, is you fight some thieves in Garland's like the town, city, district, whatever. Not really much to report there. It's kind of a tutorial battle. You take them out. They look at us and say, oh, these are just cadets. We'll make short work of them. Little do they know, Ramza Beolv, who is the son of the knight gallant hero, Balbaneth Beolv is among them.
Little do they know.
And so you make quick work of them. And your next assignment is to go to Igros Castle. This happens to be Ramza's home anyways.
Yeah.
So this is where his...
I should probably not forget to... get my...
now, like for the whole thing. Not
time code.
That I know it, but I know where things are going in a certain direction. I don't know.
It kind of tips it off too.
Yeah, just a little too much.
Regarding the religious stuff, right?
Yeah.
That will be a topic for later.
You can the connections.
The Catholic Church.
The connection's just a little bit closer than it was in, for example, Xenogears or something else.
Exactly.
All right, so right here, which is 3814. Oh, I did create one for that. Okay, we're good.
You make quick work of them, and your next assignment is to go to Igros Castle. This happens to be Ramza's home anyways.
Yeah.
So this is where his brother, Daisadarg, is leading from.
Sounds good, Rob. Hope you don't dream of spiders anymore, and that you get good rest and you have a good day at work and everything. Appreciate you sticking around for a little bit, and we'll talk to you later.
It's kind of like their fort, their stronghold, their castle.
Yeah.
But before you go there, you get a quick scene, which is another, even further backwards time. What am I thinking of? Which is another
3-day weekend. That's even better.
You get a quick scene, which is another flashback. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is another flashback to the day.
Yeah.
But before you go there, you get a quick scene, which is another This is another flashback. You get a quick scene. You go there, you get a quick scene. This is another flashback. Quick scene. This is another flashback. Scene. This is another quick scene. This is another flashback to the day or the night or whatever that Ramses' father died.
All right. I want to record this one too. Let's record it. Oh. Hello. Here we go. Barbeneth Beowulf, a hero in his own right, who had attained the distinguished title of Knight Gallant, approaches the hour of his death. The Beowulfmans in the waning days of the 50 Years' War. Okay. Got it. Oh, Dante, good to see you. And, no problem. Yeah, glad that it was helpful for people. Barbeneth Beowulf, a hero in his own right, who had attained the distinguished title of Knight Gallant, approaches the hour of his death. Beowulfmans in the waning days of the 50 Years' War.
This is another flashback to the day or the night or whatever that Ramza's father died.
Ah, yes. Yep.
So he's sort of laying there in bed, and he's got all of Ramza's siblings are there. To the day or the night or whatever that Ramza's father died.
Ah, yes. Yep.
So he's sort of laying there.
Make this a new. Oops.
To the day or the night or whatever that Ramza's father died.
Ah, yes. Yep.
So he's sort of laying there in bed, and he's got all of Ramza's siblings are there. His eldest brother Dystarg, the second oldest Zalbag, and then his younger sister Alma are all there, surrounding him at his deathbed. And he's kind of talking about, Zalbag's sort of reporting about the war. It's like, everything's going according to plan, Father. It looks like everything's going to go okay. He's like, fine, good, the war will finally die with me. This is finally coming to an end, Barbaneth is saying. Barbaneth is saying. And he's sort of like giving his last words to his children, like, don't let my last memory, Alma, be of you crying, and things like that. It's very sad. I really love the music here. It's very good.
They're questioning like where we are.
Yeah.
They're like, where's
Ramza?
Where's Ramza? What's he doing? He's how does he not know it's an important time like this? You know?
Yeah, he should be here. And he's at the academy at the time, so he's going to have to be rushing home to be with his father on his deathbed. So from Garland all the way back, I would guess. Music's really, really great here.
It's very good.
It's a bit of a motif. You'll hear this theme in battle music. You'll hear it in other softer moments.
How does he not know it's an important time like this? You know?
He should be here. And he's at the academy at the time, so he's going to have to be rushing home to be with his father on his deathbed. So from Garland all the way back, I would guess. Music's really, really great here. It's
very good.
It's a bit of a motif. You'll hear this theme in battle music. You'll hear it in other softer moments. It's a theme that's used a lot. But so he's dying, and Ramza comes rushing in right at the end. I really love the effort that they put in. Comes rushing in right at the end. I really love the effort that they put into the little details. There's lots of unique animations.
Yes,
animations
I've noticed.
that you see only once.
I have noticed, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I praised Suikoden 2 for the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where, you have, when you're creating sprites, you have like, all the angles of their walking animations and their attack animations in battle and things like that. But it's like they'll try to reuse those. Maybe they'll have a set like they did in older Final Fantasy. Have a set like they did in older Final Fantasy games of like 5 emotes. Where it's like surprise or sadness or something that they'll just use whenever it calls for those emotes.
Yeah.
And Suikoden 2 uses lots of unique sprite animations specifically for a scene that you never see again. They're never used again because it only works in this context. And that's kind of what they do here too. Like Barbaneth reaches out his hand. Barbaneth reaches out his hand to, they don't just use his one sprite of being turned this way or being turned this way. They also have him reaching out his hand to Ramza and things like that. And so I noticed a bunch of these. Like there's the one where Algus tossed a bunch of these. Like
okay, the Algus one is going to be a little further forward here. This is not Egress Castle. Here we go. I'm just going to record this whole scene while I'm here. Okay, that's good.
There's the one where Algus tosses the rock in the water. There's the one where Alma. Rock in the water. There's the one where Alma is standing there and her hair and dress are flowing with the wind. Yeah. They've got like Delita.
That's going to be in the cutscenes. One directly following it, I would think. Right? I would have recorded it. I hope I didn't. Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? That was dumb of me. Oh, because it's the next time you're at Egros. This is the first time you're at Egros. So it would actually be... it would actually be... back to the channel. Somewhere in here. No. Right here, probably. Here. Somewhere Tata's watching the same sunset. Don't worry, Delita. I'm sure she's okay. I've felt out of place for a long time. Thinking about what Algus said? Yes, there are things you can't change, no matter what. Don't say that. You put effort into it. General, if I tried hard enough. I want to rescue Tata on my own, but I can't do a thing. I'm useless. Remember how Father taught us to play that reed flute? Good. Delita
playing
Delita
playing
the reed flutes.
Reed flute, yeah.
They have a lot of unique sprite animations, and it really brings the scenes to life and gives them each scene like a really unique flavor to them.
Yeah.
And the dialogue is great. Anyways, he's just giving his last words more or less, and then he passes on.
Yeah.
They have a lot of unique sprite animations, and it really brings the scenes to life and gives them each scene like a really unique flavor to them.
Yeah.
And the dialogue is great. Anyways, he's just giving his last words more or less, and then he passes on.
Yeah, that room is really cool, and they've got that one streak of light kind of going right down the
Yeah.
middle. And it goes away when the sun sets. And it goes away when the sun sets, and so that's how you know when he dies.
The dialogue is great. Anyways, he's just giving his last words more or less, and then he passes on.
Yeah, that room is really cool, and they've got that one streak of light kind of going right down the middle. And it goes away when the sun sets, and so that's how you know when he dies. Is the sun sets, and when he dies is the sun sets, and it's and the symbolism. I wrote some pretty good notes here just on that.
Yeah, hit it up.
So, the setting of the sun signifies the Father's death and the coming darkness. It doesn't just signify death. The setting sun signifies the long night, right?
Yeah.
Which the long night holds the promise of a new day. But anyways, the sun, the cycle of the sun, would be the oldest story known to animals or to anything, going back to like bacteria. Yeah, it's a daytime. And then it's dark now. Now it's bright. Now it's dark. Now it's bright. Now it's dark. Right. Well, whenever eyes were developed, I guess, whenever they could sense stuff like that, they were probably warmth and cold. Were before that, but the warmth leaves, but it will come again. Anyways, it's good stuff. In a different form, but there's like with a sunset, there's always the promise of a sunrise later. Right, but there will be a period of darkness first. So I love how, because he's hopeful. He's like, when I die, everything will be good. Right?
He believes the 50-year war is over.
But this symbolism here with the setting of the sun,
it's actually it's going down.
It tells us the opposite thing. It tells us the opposite. And it's not just that he dies. It's that when you're using a sun, it's not just, oh, it's down meaning death. It's like, no, it means darkness and then rebirth later.
Yes.
So
there's another darker period of evil to come first.
Exactly. Yeah, like you were around for, believe it or not, the good times when the sun was still shining. Now that you're gone,
he was hopeful that the night was ending and the day was coming, but the night has just begun.
Exactly. And my guess would be he didn't know his family as well as maybe he should have.
Yeah.
Being
the
he
definitely didn't.
Figure. Yeah.
I think that he definitely. He has the right idea about Ramza and Alma.
Yeah, and Alma, the younger ones, right?
But he did not have the right idea about Dice Dark, who he's leaving in charge.
That would be my assumption right there.
Yeah. So,
by the way, I just got to throw this out here. Balbanes, Larg, Gafagarian, Zalbag, and Dice Dark. These names, I've never heard names like this before. Now, they're Germanic in the Old English sense, right? I can kind of tell that. In fact, even the last name Beowulf, I put a note here. Is Beowulf pronounced like Beowulf, right? Because I believe that would be where it comes from then. I think they used a really old English, what would you call it? Yeah, in order to name all of these characters.
Interesting.
And it's base Germanic. It's old and Old Norse, you know. Yeah. But these are the types of names that Tolkien reserved for the names of the orcs.
Yeah.
Like Grishnak and Bolg and those types of names. The hard, mostly Germanic names as well.
Right.
But that's the names of just the normal people here in this game. And I've never seen anyone go that route before.
Yeah.
Because that sounds very, very strange to English speakers.
That's really
specifically like somebody named Delita, who is a boy. Right, Delita would be a more common female name. That is when you would hear, oh, what's the story about? Oh, Ramza and Delita and their friendship and difficult times. It's like you would think that this is a boy and a girl. Anyways, but I don't know what else to say other than that, other than the fact that Hokuten is here. So you got all these old Germanic names, and then the Knights of Hokuten, and it's like, oh geez, that is not Germanic at all.
Absolutely sticks out like a sore thumb.
It's so, I don't know if there's
another
more Japanese
reason
there.
Why it's better in the War of the Lions translation, where it's Order of the Northern Sky.
They just say
Order
they just
Southern
translate
Sky,
it.
not Hokuten.
Hokuten.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a character thing that limited them, where he's like, oh, I can't say it out, or we'll just leave it at
Maybe,
Hokuten, right?
I just don't know. It's weird. Especially since you're saying Hokuten literally means northern sky.
Yep.
Like, why wouldn't they just say northern sky
Hokuten.
in English? I don't understand that.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know, but anyways, it's pretty funny the way the names are here.
Yeah. The next scene comes when you go to the Mandalia Plains on your way to Igros.
Okay, this is the next time code. All right. Dude McGuy says, if you named your kid Dice Dog, I'm sorry, you wanted them to be evil. You set that kid up to be a villain. I agree.
The next scene comes when you go to the Mandalia Plains on your way to Igros Castle, and you come across Algus.
Record this part as well. Oh, I already saw this one. Come on. Gotta get to the part after this. Come on. This is the wrong version of the game, though, so that's a problem. We want this version. What the hell am I doing? Let's go to the end of the fight, where they have their dialogue. Right here. All right, let's get the next scene too while I'm at it. I definitely prefer Algus over Argoth, too. It's like the one really, really, really clear example where in the War of the Lions version, I do not prefer the name change at all. Okay. All right, Algus. There we go.
His name is Argoth in the War of the Lions version. I like Algus better, so I'm going to call him Algus.
That's way better.
He is waylaid. He was part of the group, like Delita was saying. The Marquis was coming to Egros along with Duke Larg, right?
The thieves showed up.
The Marquis was waylaid by a group of Corpse Brigade thieves, and he was kidnapped.
And they're going to try and use him as a bargaining chip of some sort, right?
And Algus is taken prisoner, and we arrive in time to fight these thieves and save him. So that's the battle. You fight them. You save Algus. And there's some really telling, particularly for when you know what happens with Algus here a little later.
Yeah.
There's some really telling things about his personality that...
I think I'd rather have some of that dialogue with the knights. Guys. Here.
And you come across Algus. His name is Argoth in the War of the Lions version. I like Algus better, so I'm going to call him Algus.
That's way better.
He is waylaid. He was part of the group, like Delita was saying. The Marquis was coming to Egros. And Algus is taken prisoner, and we arrive in time to fight these thieves and save him. So that's the battle. You fight them. You save Algus. And there's some really telling, particularly for when you know what happens with Algus here a little later.
Yeah.
There's some really telling things about his personality that you might miss as on a first playthrough about who he really is.
Yeah.
Because at first it's like,
he's
oh,
young
Algus.
like us, right? Yeah.
Because at first it's like,
he's
oh,
young
Algus.
like us, right?
He's like 16, yeah.
Yeah. He's like our age.
So Algus, joins you for a while, and he fights with you, and you consider him a friend for the first few missions, right? But listen to this. The first thing he does is say that he's a knight. The first thing he does is say that he's a knight under the Marquis Elmdor de Lindenberry's household. He's like, I'm a knight. And Dudalita's like, knight, huh? 16-year-old. Dudalita's like, Lindenberry's household. He's like, I'm a knight. Knight. And Dudalita's like, knight, huh? 16-year-old fellow kid.
Right.
And then he's like, well, truth be told, I'm a knight apprentice, as are you, if I'm not far mistaken, right? Algus is obsessed with rank.
With status.
And
Yep,
status.
yep.
And so he tried to exaggerate his rank on first meeting. I'm a knight.
Right.
It's like, no, you're not.
It's like, well, you didn't let me finish.
I'm a knight apprentice, but so are you. So are you. You're only a knight apprentice too, right?
No,
don't try to put yourself above me.
In The Office, where Dwight Schrute, he's the assistant to the regional manager, but he likes to call himself the assistant regional manager.
Yes.
He's got a similar complex where he's like, the status, I got to have that title,
Yes.
But it's like, dude, no, you're not. And he's like, okay, technically, I'm the assistant to the regional manager, but still.
It's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And it isn't until Ramza says that he's a Beowulf that he suddenly changes his, the Beowulfs? Oh no, and he starts being really respectful to him.
So he wouldn't have tried to show off for himself had he known he was in the presence of somebody who actually was well above whatever he's aspiring to be.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I find that really telling about his character. That
That's
he,
true.
He basically tries to lie. Really telling about his character. That
That's true.
He basically tries to
missed
lie.
that early on. I mean, I got it more or less, but I did not remember what.
Also,
ends up happening
it's
with this
clearer
character.
in the War of the Lions translation.
Oh, really?
But
Well,
anyways.
that may also be part of it. I can't remember how it went in the PS1.
Yeah, I won't bring it up just to waste people's time. But just believe me, it's clear.
I get you.
Anyways, so he as soon as Ramza announces that he's a Beowulf, he's like, oh my gosh. And he sees...
Come on. Yo, how? What? That's absurd.
an opportunity there to save the Marquis. Oh my gosh. And he sees an opportunity there to save the Marquis. Now, I interpret this not that he wants to save the Marquis because he's got this undying loyalty to the Marquis, but because he does serve the Marquis' household.
So his status depends.
Yes.
Yes, I
if
get
the
where you're
Marquis dies, he loses any status he might
He
have.
loses his status.
And he's like, please, you have to help me rescue the
You know
Marquis.
what? I
You
remember
have to
that.
help me.
No,
I will
hold on.
lose everything if you don't.
I remember this now, and I did find that strange. So as I was playing the game and I came to that point, and then he's like, please, and we're like, dude, chill. Like, hold up. We're doing a thing. We got stuff to do. Like, we'll see if it fits in our schedule. But he was so like begging for it. And I was almost assuming maybe this was the son or something like that. But you're right. That's a hint as to his obsession with status. And that's something that went over my head initially. But that's a cool thing to bring up.
Yeah, and I mean, it helps that I go through it on the PS1 version, and then I come to that point where you see what happens with him later, and then I go back on this version, it's like, this is a plant. This is actually a subtle hint about who he is. This is actually a setup, right?
I like that. Whenever things seem a little bit off, it's nice to not assume that it's because of localization or something.
Right.
It's nice when things feel weird for you to actually think they did this on purpose.
Yeah.
And I wonder what that means because something's off here, right? And I noticed something was off there, but I hadn't yet been exposed to enough of the game to know whether or not this was a mistake or whether or not there's a weird cultural difference or something else that I was missing. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, they basically say, what do you think we can do about this? We're cadets, and we've been ordered to go to Egros Castle.
Somewhere else.
We can talk to my brothers while we're there and see what they're doing about this. Since he was on his way, the Marquis was on his way to Egros, so him not showing up is going to be a problem. So let's go find out what they want to do. He's like, okay, I'll come with you.
Yeah.
So you bring him with you to Egros. There you meet with Dystarg, who is now the leader.
Okay. $648.
So you bring him with you to Egros. There you meet with Dystarg, who is now the leader of the Beowulf House. He congratulates Ramza on your first victories. I hear you were decorated for, your first victory. Like, you've done me great honor. Yeah. And he's like, no, brother, your words do me far more honor than I've done you. Yeah, the niceties, the formalities.
The niceties, exactly.
The formalities between them, which I think hints a little bit of the fact that they're not actually that close.
No, sure.
Ramza and Dystarg are not close, and we missed this when talking about the former scene where their father dies. He's actually half-brothers with Dystarg and Zelbag.
That's right. I put a note here.
Barbaneth specifically said, though he's your half-brother, he's still my blood, and I want you to take care of him. So he's telling Dystarg, don't, disregard Ramza. Respect Ramza. And then when Ramza comes in, he's like, show your brothers what it really means to be a knight, right? So there's a little bit of a hint of what's going on there, but Dystarg and Ramza don't have a close relationship. And they're speaking in formalities to each other. But Ramza goes on to ask him, what are your plans for rescuing the Marquis? What's going on with that? But Ramza goes on to ask him, what are your plans for rescuing the Marquis? What's going on with that? And he says, well, I sent Zelbag out, sent a dispatch. But Ramza goes on to ask him, what are your plans for rescuing the Marquis? What's going on with that? And he says, well, I sent Zalbag out, sent a dispatch to find more information. We're doing what we can, kind of a thing. And but he also suggests that there's some kind of possibility he's dead already.
Yeah, of
and
course.
this is when Algus just jumps up. It's like, please, Lord, I beg you, give me 100 men, and I'll go hunt these rogues down myself.
And he's just a kid.
He's 16 years old.
Yeah.
And Dice Dark is like, no, I just told you we're taking care of it. And he's like, no, please, please, let me. And then he starts to like yell at him or reprimand him a bit. Like, hello, you're not a knight.
Remember your place.
Do you
Sit
know
down.
who you are?
Yeah.
Like, I told you we're taking care of it.
Right.
Don't even feign to beg favors of me.
Right.
You lowly, nobody, basically.
Yeah.
You're just another sword, I think is what he says to him.
Right.
Not even knighted yet, or something like that. And then he sits back down again, all downtrodden, with his head bowed. And he goes on to say, Daisadar goes on to say, okay, you're going to be stationed here at the castle, bolstering the defenses here. So, welcome home, sort of a thing. Like, this is where you're going to be for a while. And that scene kind of ends. And you go outside. There's kind of like a little river running through. When you're with Delita and Algus is sitting there bemoaning his station, tossing rocks into the water, which I really like that animation. But he gives a little background on what happened to him and why he is he's a noble. He's not like a commoner or a peasant, but he's obviously of low rank among nobles. And so he talks about what happened and why that is. So apparently his grandfather was captured during the 50 Years' War,
that's right.
and turned traitor to buy back his freedom.
At least that was the rumor.
Yes.
It didn't specify there that that's actually what happened, and I think he says, I don't believe it.
Yeah, because his grandfather, he says, my father would have none of this.
Yes.
But there was another soldier who was captured, who escaped, and spread that story around. And so all of Algus's family's bannermen abandoned their family.
Yeah.
So now they don't have status anymore. Their status just plummeted because the grandfather turned traitor to buy his freedom. He was a coward.
Yeah.
And
I think he ended up dying shortly
Oh,
thereafter.
as soon as they let him go,
Yeah.
there was, he says, an apprentice, not even a knight, stabs him in the back on his way out the door.
And just kills him. Yeah.
This is like an absolutely dishonorable way to die after having betrayed your country.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened to Algus's family and why he is so driven to ascend and to regain their former honor, right? That's his entire motivation for his character, is to get that honor back. So he's been moaning that a bit. Again, I like the animation as he tosses the rock in the water. He says all that, and then Ramza's brother Zalbag, who is basically the captain or the general, I guess, of the Northern Knights. He's the one who leads the military of the Northern Sky Knights.
The Hokuten.
Yeah, the Hokuten. Dice Darg is more of a strategist and is the head of the household.
And he stays back there most of the time.
Yeah, but he's more the strategy guy.
Yeah.
Zalbag is the general leading the armies guy. So he comes up with Alma and Delita's little sister, Pietra. So it's Tata. It's Tata in the. It's Tata in in the PS1
Teta,
version.
yes, Teta. Oh,
It's
what the heck?
Tetra. Tetra.
Tetra.
In War of the Lions.
Is that a reference to Tetra from Final Fantasy VI?
I don't know. Oh.
Tetra.
In War of the Lions. What the fetch
In
is
6?
wrong with me? Yes.
Terra.
Oh my, Terra. is her
Terra.
name.
Oh,
Terra is
okay,
her
okay.
name.
So it's not
Thank
Tetra.
you.
It's just Terra.
Yeah. So
That was my bad.
is her name in the War of the Lions version.
Okay. Well, I will be calling her Teta. So.
So
Oh,
It's-
what the heck?
Tetra. Tetra.
Tetra.
In War of the Lions.
Well, I will be calling her Teta. So.
So, anyways, there's a kind of a nice conversation. Delita and Tetra sort of hugging and catching up. And Zalbag is again congratulating. He seems to have a little bit of a closer relationship with Ramza. He's a little more casual with him. He congratulates him on his, his victory and everything like that. Welcome back, sort of thing. It's interesting here that Tetra lies to Delita and tells him that, oh, she's being treated very fairly and very nicely by everybody at school and things like that. So for background, Delita and Tetra were that. So for background, Delita and Tetra were taken in by the Beowulf household, but they are commoners. They're not nobles. They have no station or anything like that.
Right.
They were just taken in out of the kindness.
They were orphans at a monastery, right?
Yeah. And so Barbaneth took them in out of the kindness of his heart, and Delita became fast friends with Ramza and Tetra with Alma. They were the right age for that. But yeah, they have no station or rank. They're basically just servants of the Beowulf household. And so that's why, that's another thing Barbaneth said on his deathbed was, I'm going to give Delita to you, basically to be your, like Samwise Gamgee,
Yes.
your servant, like Samwise Gamgee,
Yes.
your servant.
Of course.
And I've gotten him into the academy. And he's like, you should have seen the face of the headmaster when I told him I was letting a commoner come there to be a knight. He's like chuckling about it, right? So Delita has no station, and neither does Tetra. So Tetra's being appeased and bullied by noble girls at the school. And Alma confirms this later.
Noble.
Yeah, so Alma's like, she's not telling the truth, Ramza. She's really being bullied, and it's taking a big toll on her. And she's like, sorry, I told you that. You got your own things to worry about. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of her. I'm here for her, kind of a thing.
Right.
So that's what's going on there. But then Zalbag, it sort of nudges Ramza into leaving his station here at Igros and her, kind of a thing.
Right.
So that's what's going on there. But then Zalbag, it sort of nudges Ramza into leaving his station here at Igros and trying to do something about the Marquis.
The Marquise, yeah.
So I copied this down. So Zabak says, we received a note of ransom from the Corpse Brigade. Something about it sits unwell with me. They are anarchists, to be sure, bent on bringing down the from the Corpse Brigade. Something about it sits unwell with me. They are anarchists, to be sure, bent on bringing down the aristocracy, but they fancy themselves righteous and prey only on the nobility and those in our employ. Would such as they truly kidnap the Marquis for want of coin? So he's right. So that's what's going on there. But then Zalbag, it sort of nudges Ramza into leaving his station here at Egros and trying to do something about the Marquis.
The Marquis, yeah.
So I copied this down. So Zabak says, we received a note of ransom from the Corpse Brigade. Something about it sits unwell with me. They are anarchists, to be sure, bent on bringing down the aristocracy, but they fancy themselves righteous and prey only on the nobility and those in our employ. Would such as they truly kidnap the Marquis for want of coin? So he's questioning the motive behind the kidnapping of the Marquis. Is it Marquis or it's Marquis? Is it Marquis or it's Marquis? I don't know how it's pronounced.
It's probably Marquis if we go through the French.
It is de Linberry, so it's like got a very
Marquis,
French sound to it.
Marquis de Limberry. Limberry. I was thinking Marquess is Spanish.
Yeah.
They pronounce the S. We should probably just say Marquis.
Marquis, I guess.
Yeah.
Marquis. Marquis. Marquis.
Marquis. Marquis. Marquis. Marquis. Marquis. Marquis. Marquis. Marquis.
Marquis, I guess.
Yeah. Probably just say Marquis.
Marquis, I guess.
Marquis. 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 Marquis.
There's been a couple of times where I've mispronounced things that apparently other people think are very common words I should know. like the word Zephyr, Queen Zephyr in Xenogears. Zephyr means like a wind or something like that.
Okay, sure, yeah.
They're like, this is a common word. How do you not know what Zephyr is?
Zephyr.
Like, oh my gosh, dude.
That's hilarious.
I don't know every word in the English language, I'm sorry.
Fear.
It's like, oh my gosh, dude.
That's hilarious.
I don't know every word in the English language, I'm sorry. Anyways, I don't know. Marquis, I think. But.
Marquis sounds right.
Anyways, he's saying something's funky about this kidnapping. It does not align with the motives of the Corpse Brigade. And Algus says, why wouldn't they? They're not but common footpads. Or,
so that's their view of them.
Right. Algus's view of anyone who's not a noble. Corpse Brigade. And Algus says, why wouldn't they? They're not but common footpads.
So that's their view of them.
Right. Algus's view of anyone who's not a
so that's their view of them.
Right. Algus's view of anyone who's not a noble is, oh, they're just rogues and vagabonds and trash and rats, and of course they'll be evil and do bad things. And Zalbag is like, one And Zalbag is like, one of the men I planted among them has not returned. I worry he may be caught up in something serious. But there are those who do not think some mere spy worth a search party's efforts. So Zalbag's caught here. He's worried about his man who's a spy among the Corpse Brigade, and he wants to go after him, but he's being held up in red tape.
Yeah.
Because some people don't think it's worth just the life of some spy to like go in after him.
Yeah.
So then he turns around and starts.
Yeah.
So then he turns around and starts to kind of walk away. I'm busy with things or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, Ramza asks, where was he last known to be, right? And then he says, Ramza asks, where was he last known to be, right? And Zalbag says, a merchant city named last known to be, right? And Zalbag says, a merchant city named Dorder in the eastern Galleon. Guarding a castle grows dreadfully dull, wouldn't you agree? And then he walks away. Ramza asks, where was he last known to be, right? And Zalbag says, a merchant city named Dorder in the eastern Galleon. Guarding a castle grows dreadfully dull, wouldn't you agree? And then he walks away.
So he's trying to. So he's trying to get us to do things.
Ramza to do it, so he can know what happened to his guy, right? And he's like, I can't get past the red tape to get someone to go after this. Maybe I can send my little brother in there, with his cadets to find out what happened here.
And then if something goes wrong, it was his fault. I didn't do anything.
Exactly right.
Plausible deniability.
Exactly right. So, of course, Algus is going to jump on this opportunity. And so Algus, Delita, and Ramza leave together to go and investigate this. There's a battle on the way there, but it's just a random battle with monsters.
Oh, yeah. Is that the
In
first
the
time we fight a
Woods.
chocobo?
It's so funny because it's
Woods.
called the Swiggy Woods in the PS1 version, and it's called what is it? They use the word weald, which I had never heard of. W-E-A-L-D, which means
Weald?
a heavily
Weald?
wooded, heavily wooded
Oh,
area.
cool. Nice.
Weald, right?
It's probably a German
so it's
word.
like the siege weald or something like that instead of the
Interesting.
Sigi Woods. Same with
That's a Sweegie.
it's like the Rat's Siege instead of like the Rat's Den or whatever they call it. I think in the PS1 version. I love things like that. It's like weald. That's a really cool word, right? And it's sure it's like not a word that I knew, but it was like a really cool word, right? And it's sure it's like not a word that I knew, but it was like now that I know it, it's like, oh, that's a dope word. I've been using that.
It is, dude. We use it all the time.
Dope word. I've been using that.
It is, dude. We use it all the time. The weald into the wheels.
That's why I like the language of the War of the Lions version. Even though I don't know all the words, or I might not be completely familiar with, it's not modern the way they're talking. It's cool. I just like the way it sounds. Anyways, once you arrive in Dorder.
Okay, that's where I'm going to have to stop for today. Getting pretty close to the end, though. Maybe another 20-ish minutes left in this, and then... So I'll finish this up tomorrow. And then we'll move on to the next one after that, which is a long one. The next podcast is like 3 hours long, so that's going to take quite a while to edit, but I have to stop for today. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Doom Guy is still watching. Zenmen's is typing. I'll wait to see what he says here. Yep. Later, everybody. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Peace out.